As we carry on our daily activities at home, workplace, or when commuting on the road, we are faced with all kinds of risk. Be it the risk of being injured at home, risk of losing job, risk of losing investment, or risk of having an accident on the road. And especially in this age of digital transformation, the risk of working remotely over unsecured network. Nevertheless, how we manage those risks is what makes a difference. Because according to the Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Hello, I'm Olawumi Olaseha, a passionate cybersecurity professional with over 10 years of experience spanning across various roles in IT and financial services industries. In this video, I will discuss some risk faced by an organization named Creative Bank of Entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy the video. To begin with, let us understand what risk is. Risk is the likelihood of something bad happening. You see, we can't define risk without talking about threat and vulnerability. Threat is a negative event that could take advantage of weaknesses or flaws in the organization's asset, leading to the loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. While vulnerability is the weakness in the system that makes threat possible. Therefore, back to our definition of risk. First, let's represent it mathematically. I love mathematics. Well, in cybersecurity, risk is the likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability, leading to loss of confidentiality, integrity, and availability of an organization's asset, thereby subjecting it to financial, reputational, compliance, legal, or operational loss. You see, taking risk is not always bad. In fact, I'm certain most of us have investments in stocks, Bitcoin, or real estate. Right there is the risk of losing investment, and they are volatile and vulnerable to threats such as foreign currency fluctuation or force majeure. So depending on your risk tolerance, you will choose which type to invest in and put in place mitigating factors such as diversification, monitoring the market trend, or even purchase insurance. Similarly, when organizations identify risk, how the risks are being mitigated depends greatly on their risk tolerance. Therefore, risk management is all about determining an organization's risk tolerance, then conducting risk assessment on the identified asset and taking actions based on the outcome, either accepting the risk or mitigate the risk by implementing technical, administrative, or operational controls, or even transferring the risk by purchasing insurance. The risk assessment methodology used depends on each organization, ranging from business impact analysis, Octave, FAIR, and NIST methodology. Furthermore, risk management is not complete without testing the controls implemented and monitoring the risk identified on an ongoing basis. Also, not to forget that to effectively implement risk management in an organization, we must ensure related policies and processes are put in place to enable them to comply with appropriate regulatory requirements around cybersecurity. Now that we have understood what risk management is, let us examine Creative Bank of Entrepreneur. Creative Bank of Entrepreneur is a crown corporation supporting over 72,000 Canadian businesses through its flexible financing and advisory services. CBE has more than 2,000 employees and about 125 locations across Canada. Its key assets include personal identifiable information of employees and clients, data center, third-party solutions such as cloud services, endpoint devices, applications such as CRM and loan service software, website, online banking, internet-restricted document. Just like every other bank, CBE is faced with cybersecurity risk, especially with most employees working remotely coupled with the nature of its assets. Therefore, CBE established its IT risk management framework designed based on NIST and ISO frameworks, and their risk assessment is based on FAIR methodology. They have identified and classified their asset as restricted, limited, or confidential, internal, and sensitive to enable them perform effective risk assessment. But for the purpose of this exercise, I will be using a simple risk assessment matrix table. Now, let us discuss 4 risks faced by the bank. The first risk, which is one of the major risks, is synonymous to most banks. Data leak or loss resulting to privacy and security breach. As we know, banks collect client and employees' information which are highly confidential and sensitive. For instance, data loss could occur from data exfiltration by malicious insider or theft or loss of computing device. In the latter scenario, the threat is unauthorized access to stolen or lost device, and the vulnerability could be weak or unencrypted stored data. The likelihood of the vulnerability being exploited is perhaps 2 out of 5, but the impact is 5 out of 5, as this could lead to unauthorized disclosure of personal identifiable information (PII) or modification of client bank account details to receive their salary, or employees or bank account details of client to receive their loan proceed, and employee bank account to receive their salary, thereby breaching confidentiality and integrity of the data. And according to GDPR, the financial impact of privacy breach could be fines up to 20 million euros and PIPEDA fines up to 100,000 Canadian per violation. That is huge. The mitigation is CBE employed various IT tools for data loss prevention, host and network-based, strong encryption algorithm for data at rest, in transit, and in use, and mobile device management solution for remote wiping of files on lost mobile devices. Also, employees are reminded through the acceptable use policy to report any loss of devices immediately. The second risk is inefficient incident management tool for detecting and responding to cyber attacks. This is the risk of the bank's inability to detect cyber security attacks or unauthorized access or efficiently respond to cybersecurity incidents. For instance, an employee may fall into an email phishing attack and download malware such as ransomware, which may deny the employee from further accessing the system until ransom is paid. The vulnerability here is the bank not having efficient incident response tools such as email filtering or perhaps misconfiguration of firewall or IDS for prompt detection of cyber attacks. The threat is the untrained employee clicking phishing email. The likelihood of this happening is 3 out of 5 based on the current statistics of CBE's phishing email simulations. About 35 to 45% of employees click the links. The impact of the exploits is huge, from denial of service to financial loss from the ransom paid. So let's say impact is 3 out of 5. In line with CBE's cybersecurity incident management plan, they keep tracks of trending threats and vulnerability to drive investment on their security mechanisms and tools, and ensure proper configuration of devices to detect, contain, and recover from cybersecurity incidents. As it is being commonly said, people are the weakest link. Hence, the bank regularly performs incident response tabletop exercises and cybersecurity training program. They have approximately 50 employees trained as InfoSec champions who provide monthly security awareness training across various regions as a reminder. The third risk is shadow IT risk due to inadequate IT tools. This is the risk that employees of the bank will deploy certain technologies as a workaround to business needs that their central IT tools is not able to meet. For instance, employee using external solutions such as web conferencing app or cloud storage such as Dropbox or accessing personal email. Shadow IT risk may expose the bank to security risk such as installing viruses, downloading malware, or leaking sensitive information, which could potentially lead to compliance and legal related issues. The threat is employee deploying unauthorized technologies, and the vulnerability is the inadequate IT resources to meet business needs. The likelihood of this happening is 4 out of 5 because employees may want to share large files using Dropbox or using Zoom web conferencing app for easy video chat with clients. The impact, 3 out of 5, as it could lead to legal loss from copyright infringement or promote data leak. The mitigation put in place is the bank designed and invested in IT tools and processes to meet business and employees' requirements. They also deployed internal app store on employees' devices, thereby prohibiting installation of external tools not found on the app store. They implemented other controls like blocking applications that are known to be dangerous. Moreover, the bank conducts survey on its technologies to get feedback from employees on what is working and not working. Lastly is third-party risk. In fact, I would say this is the most dangerous. It is not uncommon to see most organizations, including banks, moving to the cloud and using different cloud models, such as IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, to minimize cost and leverage its scalability and elasticity features. Because the security of cloud services is shared responsibility of both the cloud service providers and the bank, CBE is exposed to these third-party risks such as security controls deficiency as the vulnerability, and the threat could be the third party itself with malicious intent or hackers who are cognizant of the vulnerability. We know recently a vulnerability was found in Okta Solution, an IAM service provider. If this service was used by CBE, hackers who are aware of the vulnerability may exploit it. The likelihood is there, so I would say it's 4 out of 5, and the impact is 4 out of 5 as it may lead to reputational damage or non-compliance to privacy regulations. CBE understand the third-party dependencies and the risk, but this is one of those risks the bank will have to accept. Though they still put some measures in place to minimize the risk, it performs continuous due diligence on the cloud service providers before and after onboarding. In conclusion, I have discussed some of the risks CBE face and the control measures put in place to mitigate the risk. But at times, it accepts some risk. Evidently, the bank is well equipped with tools and policies to tackle this risk, as it does not only mitigate the risk, but also ensures proactive monitoring and reporting. Thank you all for listening.